Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I chat with Evan Daigle, who plays Toby on the TNT series Claws, now in its second season. We talk about everything from wearing fake nails to quitting college for your dream job, and how the role of Toby has grown over the course of the show. It's a great interview, and I hope you enjoy.
Hey Les, this is Evan. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for taking out the time to do the interview today. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem. Absolutely.
Ironically, I just got to interview Nisi and Carrie Ann and Judy Reyes, as well as Elliot Lawrence and Janine Sherman Barrois at ATX Fest. And so,
oh, that's awesome.
Let's complete the set.
Yeah.
I want to talk to Toby. Come on.
Right. That's awesome.
So I've been loving the show. I'm so happy that y'all got a season 2. It's such a delicious little crime drama and so fun. Can you talk a little bit about auditioning for Toby while you were still in school and going out for that part?
Yeah, sure. I was studying at Loyola University in New Orleans for about 2 years before I got the audition for Toby. I was studying acting and communications. And I was mainly focused on really just training my acting skills while I was in school. But there is a bustling film and television industry in New Orleans. And so I signed with a small talent agent in my junior year of school. And about a year later, I got an audition for the pilot of Claws that was going to be shot in New Orleans. And so fast forward 2 years later and 15 episodes later, and here we are. But the audition process was really actually pretty simple because the part started off to be quite small. It was only going to be that first scene in the pilot episode of the season. And after the series got greenlit, the producers decided to have Toby as a recurring character. And so it's just been honestly a whirlwind for me because I went from being in school since I was 4 years old and then having to leave immediately for work. And so it took a time period for me to adjust to the difference and just like lifestyle and everything. But after this second season, I just feel really settled into everything. So it's been great so far.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if going out for this audition, it was just going to be a one-off thing, then I'm sure, it'd be like taking a commercial or something like that. Like, I'll do this, I'll go back to class on Monday, just all part of it.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, and whenever I booked the pilot, I only shot for 2 days on the pilot. So leaving school was never even in my mind at all. I was just excited.
Was there a scary moment when you realized that like, oh, wow, no, this means changing everything. I got it. I'm leaving.
It sort of was a slow realization because I booked the pilot about a month later or 2 months later. We went to series and I got a call from my agent that I would be recurring in multiple episodes. And so for the first, I think like 2 or 3 weeks of shooting, I tried to stay in school and tried to balance it and tried to talk to my teachers. But it got to the point where there was no way that I was going to be able to complete school because I was not being able to be in class ever.
Yeah.
I was filming about 3 days a week. And my parents didn't understand why I couldn't just film on the weekends. But that's obviously just not how it works. So it took about into the second episode, I kind of really had the realization that the school wasn't going to work anymore. And so I called my parents and they were actually really understanding. They support me in my decision. They really realized that it was an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. So, and they were just excited that I'm able to just start my career, my professional career.
Yeah.
They're just happy for me in that way.
I'm always amazed. Everybody's parents are always terrified when people go and major in acting or major in an arts degree. Because like, well, you'll never get a job, you'll starve. But every single time I hear an equal story of parents also scared if you quit school to go do that exact job, which always cracks me up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true.
Was there a moment in season 1 that you remember where it started feeling comfortable on set? Like, this is real. I'm I'm doing this, I'm a professional, I'm here?
I think there definitely was. It's funny because there's actually a specific scene in the first season. The scene that Toby and Desna have in the 7th episode, where Desna is asking and trying to convince Toby to take over the salon so she can pull out of the Dixie
Yeah,
Mafia.
I was actually going to bring that scene up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Before then, my character was sort of just in and out, popping a line here, a line there. And then whenever I got word that the showrunner and the writers wanted to sort of use Toby as a device to get the main character Desna out of what was essentially the plot problem, I was over the moon. I was so excited, and I feel like that and Jen Lyon, who plays Jen on the show, told me, she was like, I specifically remember her sitting me down on set one day and telling me, Evan, you need to know that you're here because you've continuously executives and the studio executives and the writers. You were really supposed to be in one episode. And hearing an actor, one of my series regulars, say that to me was that it was, I had a combination of feelings, mostly just joy, but honestly, I started to have a sense of belonging that I really didn't have for those first few months of shooting. I sort of had imposter syndrome a little bit. I couldn't believe that I went from acting with just kids in class to these insanely talented professional actors. It was amazing, but it was also just very jarring. And that towards the end of the first season, I felt like a lot of the series regulars, especially Nisi, started to really mentor me in a way. And at the end of the season, Nisi asked me what I was going to do next. I told her that I would be moving out to LA to continue acting. And she gave me some of the most valuable practical advice about starting my career here. That she's not only is she a great actress, she's actually definitely a life coach. But that's just a side thing that she does with her friends, because she's just such an inspirational person. She doesn't even realize that she's having a normal conversation with you and you literally feel like you paid a ton of money for the best life coach ever. It's great.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, she was absolutely wonderful to meet. And yeah, I could, it was difficult enough just to have a casual conversation with her. I can't imagine getting life advice.
Oh, I know. It took me a while not to be intimidated by her, honestly, but she's so welcoming and warm that it ended up being great. Her and I are great friends.
So I asked them how often they have to stop production and yell, nail down and come get a nail fixed. But that's got to be wide to everybody. What's the wildest nails that you've had to sport on the show, do you think?
Sorry, the wildest nail what?
The wildest nail art that you've had to sport on the show. Have you had a particular?
Oh, definitely. Oh, yes, definitely the nails that I had for the Gone with the Wind party that Uncle Daddy threw in the 7th episode of the first season. Those were some talent, man. And Toby doesn't always wear nails, but whenever he does, the nail artists really like to give him some claws. And so that was, and Dale Dickey and I both that day, just our nails were, I think they were almost 2 inches protruding off of our fingers. It was crazy. And they have to make, I think, like 3 or 4 multiple sets of the exact same nails because they pop off so easily.
Yeah, that's what they were all saying.
Always, losing them in their costumes. And I was wearing this 19th century dress, and I popped off a nail and found it later, 2 days later, It's one of those things. But yeah, our nail artists are really some of the most talented people on set. It's been great being able to work on a show that has such, I think, like a unique art form as the center element of it. It's been really cool.
Yeah, I honestly, until talking to Elliot Lawrence, I had no idea the amount of money in that industry, like how big this culture is that I've, and how dense this artistry is that I've never really looked at. And so the show's just been wild to go, oh, wow, there's a pocket world there that I've never seen.
Right.
I know that they put some of the cast through kind of a nail art boot camp, how to thread eyebrows, how to do nails. Did they put you through that as well?
No, Toby, like I said, originally was only supposed to be in that one episode of that one scene of the pilot. And so they only had the ladies go and do nail school. But like I said, I actually made some friends with the nail techs on set, and so I got some pointers from them for sure.
The synchronized swimming scene absolutely dropped my jaw. That was just fantastic. I just didn't expect it at all. Is that something you had ever done before?
Oh, not at all. That was so funny. It's so funny that that's what most people recognize me from the show for, because that people think that I have experience with dancing or with synchronized swimming, but they had this group called the Aqua Lilies come in, and I had I think 3 full days before we shot the scene of training with them in the pool and out of the pool. And they were so professional and helpful that they were able to get me to a place where we could make it through the magic of television look as good as it did. And we also had a double for me, but it was a lot more challenging than I thought that it was originally going to be. And they ended up using a lot more of the footage that I myself shot rather than the double, which I thought was really cool. And that was probably the most memorable shooting experience for me thus far, just because it was 3 days of training and 2 full days of shooting. So that was definitely the most memorable experience for me on the show so far.
Well, I've seen gifs of it going around and everything. That's just going to live on forever. It's freaking spectacular.
I them a lot.
I bet so. The scene you mentioned where Desna basically calls out Toby for like, oh, that himbo act's not going to cut it. I know you're smart. I cracked up at that of just, I love a scene where a character sits down and goes, no, don't play that. I know you know what you're doing.
Right.
And so I thought it was a great moment for your character. I think it's just really cool that got recognized behind the camera as well, because I felt like that was a real change moment for the character of like, all right, Toby's getting brought in. Is there anything you can talk about going into season 2? Anything you're excited about? Are we going to get to see Toby do more?
Sure. Yeah. No, that moment particular, like I said, it was really significant for me just because I felt like the character was being brought in a little bit more. And in season 2, the first season ends with Desna having to sort of, she does have to go into this deal with the Russians that she herself must run the salon. And so Toby is no longer running the salon, but this new season, you're going to get to see a lot of the relationship between Toby and Uncle Daddy a lot more. I think after the loss of Wanda in the last episode of the first season, the Uncle Daddy's really grief-stricken. They were together for over 20 years, and Toby had only been a part of his life for, I think, and me and Dean decided in the last, 2 years. And so this season, you're going to get to see a little bit more of that relationship, and there's a really, really exciting scene in the 5th episode of the season where Uncle Daddy really goes to Toby's defense in a great way. And another interesting part of Toby's development in the second season is that in the first season, Toby was sort of not really involved in the actual crime operations. But in season 2, he, I think due to Uncle Daddy just losing his power, his money, and his allegiance, Toby is fully brought in and is packaging drugs, is making moves, has guns. So I think the fans are going to get to see a whole new side of the character this season, which I'm really excited about.
I kind of wondered that after that conversation with Desna of going, all right, well, we've acknowledged in the show that Toby's got a brain, like Toby's smart.
Right, and it's also what you said. I wanted to comment whenever you about Desna telling him, oh, this himbo act is bullshit. For me, up until then, I felt like I had a good idea of the person I was playing. But that line in particular gave me, I think it really filled me as an actor with what I think I needed to create a full human being. I took the fact that him having his himbo act as being bullshit as a front, I really leaned in with that and and calibrated my acting choices further on from that, with that in mind. Because I think that was a really interesting level for the writers to give, because at face value, the character, and Ellie and I joke about it all the time, he's the typical gay trope of the twink, but we really wanted to show a really more strange and more layered version of sort of an archetypal character.
Yeah, and I feel like that's how it came across on screen as well, was that...
Oh, that's great.
Like, it threw the door open on permission for you to have a backstory on this character.
Exactly.
One of the things that surprised me from the pilot on this show is like you said, Toby should just be a twink trope, but there's something a little more layered to it from the I think from the moment that Roller acknowledges the relationship casually and moves on, and there's I had a momentary expectation of somebody giving Uncle Daddy shit about this, and
right.
No one does.
And and I think that's the beautiful thing about it.
A friend of mine also pointed out watching it that you're close with Wanda, with Aunt Mommy as well, and that it's not as if you're just Uncle Daddy's secret that has some kind of spat with the wife or something. You're close to the group. You're in the entire relationship, kind of.
Right.
I wanted to ask how much of that backstory was there, and how much did you figure out with Dean? And
sure, yeah.
What was it like to kind of come up with that?
Most of the backstory that Dale Dickey, who plays Wanda, and Dean Norris, who plays Uncle Daddy, and I did before we started shooting scenes together, we talked to Elliot individually and together. And I originally thought, okay, there must be some sort of disdain between Wanda and Toby. And Elliot explained to us that this show, we want to talk about these sort of, I guess, what people would consider controversial or alternative lifestyles, if you want to call it that, but not comment on it in a way that you would, it's like what you said, you would probably expect a character like Roller, who is this heteromasculine crime boss, leading man, to be sort of peeved out, or at least a little bit weirded out about the Toby and Uncle Daddy relationship. And I think that's exactly where the progression in the show lies, is we're showing these, what to some people may consider alternative or strange or deviant lifestyles or people, in a way that it's not talked about. It's just these people accept each other for who they are, because the overarching theme of family and inclusion in the show really permeates to even the smaller characters such as mine. And that's been, I think, such a blessing for this to be my first project, honestly, because for me, art, especially in the political climate that we're in now, art and activism, the line between them it's blurry, and artists are expected to sort of have political opinions. And I don't know if that's the best way to go about everything, but that's just the reality of the situation right now. And so I really do feel blessed to be a part of a show that has such a socially conscious theme to it. And it's so inclusive in front of the camera and behind the camera, which I think is it is equally important.
Yeah, I know watching it, I was kind of relieved and overjoyed that whatever the show considers to be monstrous about Uncle Daddy, it's not his sexuality. Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, he's a monster for setting his nephew up, and a variety of other things.
Yeah.
And the show's real clear about that. But yeah, I was really impressed at like the subject matter that was not tacked on to the list of things to throw against this character.
Right. It doesn't feel like fetishization. It feels like genuine relationship, which I think it could have gone the other way easily, but I think that Elliot and Janine especially are so good at what they do that they've really been able to pull it off.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with the show so far. I think I've gotten a couple of people to start watching it, and so I'm eager to see where they are in it at this point.
Oh, that's great to hear.
And I'm so glad y'all got a season 2. Thank you again for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for talking with me. It's been great.
Is it just Claw Season 2 for you right now, or do you have anything else coming up?
Yes, it's just Claw Season 2 airing right now. I actually am in Los Angeles still working on building my team, so hopefully I'll have some more projects rolling in later this year.
All right. Thanks again, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.